Ooh, I want to know that. I don't think so, buddy. If you're looking for the best cookbooks and resources to get you started with vegan baking, you're in the right place. On today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the cookbooks that got me started with vegan baking and some of the resources that I still use today when it comes to inspiration and recipes that I truly trust and know that work. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new around here, hi, I'm Natalia Lima, founder and owner of Curious Cat Bakery, an all-vegan bakery based out of Florida where I make everything taste exactly like the real deal. But I started out as a home baker just like you without a clue of what I was doing. And I was just Googling recipes and finding out that not all recipes are great. There was a whole lot of disasters along the way. So it took a little bit of time between not knowing what I was doing to being a professional award-winning vegan baker. However, I got here and I've learned a few things along the way, and that's what I share on this channel. So if you're into vegan baking, make sure you subscribe so you get notified every time a new video comes out. Now, along the way, I also figured out that some cookbooks and resources online are really reliable and a great way to get inspiration and recipes to work on. So that's what I'm going to be sharing today. So we're going to do cookbooks, places that I rely on for recipes, and then finally some places that I go for educational content and inspiration that may not necessarily be vegan, but you can learn a lot from. Are you ready? Let's do this. So first up, let's talk cookbooks. Oh, and actually I'll put the link to all of the cookbooks and resources in the description below so you can find them afterwards. So first up, I would say Chloe Coscarelli's books are a huge resource. So her book, Chloe's Vegan Desserts, is amazing. She just has a really informal way of talking and writing. So it's a great cookbook if you're just getting started. One thing that I love about Chloe is that she's all about the taste. Like, she's just like me, where it's like, taste matters. This needs to taste like the real deal, which I really love. Her stuff tastes good, which is fantastic. I've tried pretty much every recipe in that book. And then there's another one called Flavor. Is that what it's called? Yep, Flavor is what it's called. So she has another book called Flavor, which is fantastic, and it has both baking and cooking recipes. The cooking recipes are fantastic, and then the baking ones are as well. So highly recommend those two books. Follow Chloe on social media. She used to have a chain of restaurants that she doesn't anymore. Those were amazing too. Everything the girl does, I'm absolutely a fan of. The second cookbook that I absolutely love is not vegan. However, a lot of the recipes are accidentally vegan, is Paul Hollywood's How to Bake. You guys know I'm a Paul Hollywood fan. You guys know I'm a Bake Off fan. And so when I was just thinking of getting started baking with breads, I had to go with the king of bread himself. I had to go with Paul Hollywood's book. And this book delivers. There are so many recipes in there, from your simple white bread all the way to more of the pastry, sourdough, more complicated things. And of course, the more enriched doughs and breads will involve butter and eggs. So then you're gonna have to, substitute and veganize them. But a lot of bread is naturally vegan. Another thing that I love about this book is that he really breaks down the technique. Like, he has pictures of each of the steps and what the dough is supposed to look and feel like step by step, which I think a lot of the books really skip over that part, and it's really important. It's a great book if you're just getting started, if you really need to learn the technique. You're not just gonna get a recipe, you're gonna get the how-to step by step, and each of the sections, like on sourdough, on enriched breads, on pastry, they have a little intro in the beginning that really breaks down what this is all about, what makes it unique, and what the key components and things that you need to be learning and doing and watching out for are. Now let's get to the online resources. Of course, I do have my favorite resources. I have my favorite vloggers, my YouTubers, and my favorite blogs that I do follow, and that if I'm looking for a recipe, I'll check them first and see if they have a version themselves, because I've identified that they are my style. Their stuff tastes like the real deal. They don't compromise on taste for the sake of it being vegan. They know what they're talking about, basically. One of them is a virtual vegan. I mentioned her before here in this video over here, where I tried her custard recipe, which turned out amazing, spoiler alert. And so I trust her judgment. I follow her on Instagram. I see the things that she's posting every day, and they taste great. So whenever I'm looking for a new recipe for something specific, I check her website out and see if she has a recipe in there because I know I can trust it. Another one that I follow is Holy Cow, and I've tried her brioche recipe, and holy cow, it was so good. It was so freaking good. I've done it a few times. It turned out amazing. And so I highly recommend her stuff. Same thing, right texture, right taste, no compromising just because it's vegan, and everything she makes is completely vegan. So highly recommend checking her out on Instagram. And then the final one, I'm not going to pronounce it because I don't speak French, and it's going to be embarrassing. So that's the one that you should follow. So all her recipes are in French. However, good old Google Translate solves that problem. I just copy the entire thing, put it on Google Translate, and I have what it takes to make the recipe. Her stuff is so good. So good. And it's all completely vegan. And if you follow her on Instagram, every once in a while you get little glimpses of France, which just make my little heart so happy. So vegan recipes, little glimpses of France, all great. All fantastic things that I'm all about. So those are the ones that I trust for recipes. Now there are some accounts that I follow just for inspiration and for educational content, because even if they're not vegan, they're talking about the concepts, the principles in baking that sometimes cross over and you can learn a lot from. Now I would love to tell you to follow some accounts because they have educational content when it comes to vegan baking. However, one of the reasons why I started this channel is because I could not find that anywhere. I had to figure that out all on my own. So I'm hoping that with this channel, you don't have to do that, and I'm providing that to you. I wish there was somebody I could follow for that information. However, I don't know of any. If you do, please drop it in the comments below. I would love to find out about them. So the accounts that I follow when it comes to the baking principles and really what works and doesn't work from a scientific point of view, if you will, with baking, those are not vegan, but a lot of the rules apply, or at least they're a starting point so that I can figure it out, then how it translates and how it works with vegan baking. Does that make sense? So my first one is Adam Ragusa. I absolutely love his style. He's a journalist, and that really shows in his videos. He has like over 1 million followers. The guy knows what he's talking about. He puts a ton of research into his videos, and you really learn about why things act a certain way or do certain things in baking. So it's not vegan, although sometimes he does have recipes that use vegan cheese or vegan products. That's not what he specializes in, but sometimes he touches upon it. That's not what he specializes in, but you can definitely learn a lot about just the principles of baking from him and then apply that to your vegan bakes. Another one is America's Test Kitchen. Are they still on Amazon Prime? I remember watching a whole lot of the episodes on there. They're a great show where they really test out different things to see what works best. So they'll try a different pan. Like a lot of the things that I've done here on the channel with vegan products and trying different iterations and comparing to see what works best. Like I got that inspiration from America's Test Kitchen. I love what they do over there. And their Instagram account has a lot of that content where they just test out different things, or they will show you in a carousel, like this is what it looks like when you bake it like this, and this is what it looks like when you bake it like that. So you can learn a lot about baking from that, even if they're not using vegan ingredients. But because veganism has grown so much, yes, they have been including more vegan content into their rotation. So it's definitely worth a follow. Same thing with the New York Times cooking account. They have a YouTube channel and they have their Instagram, and both have a lot of information when it comes to cooking and baking. And because veganism has been growing, sometimes you will see that information in there. But mostly it's non-vegan stuff, but it will give you inspiration. It will give you information that you can then apply to your bakes. And then my final two are accounts that I follow for inspiration. So one of them is A Cozy Kitchen. Her stuff looks so freaking beautiful. And then her flavor combinations really are in line with mine. I look at some of her stuff and I'm like, ooh. Like she posted a mocha cinnamon bun the other day and I was like, I want to know that. I want to do that. And her recipe is not vegan, but I'm like, I could veganize that. And it gives me inspiration of things that I could do in my kitchen for my menu or for just my enjoyment and things that I want to try out. So it's definitely like food porn, basically. Like it just gives me inspiration to watch other bakers do something that they do well. Even if it's not vegan, then I can think of ways that I can adapt to my own recipes. And then the final one is James Hillary. He was a bake-off contestant, and he actually posts quite a few vegan baking recipes too. Some of the recipes that he does are vegan. He did send me his vegan bear claw recipe that I actually still have to do. One of these days when I find the time, you know, from running a bakery and doing Vlogmas and doing all of the other things. But he does post his recipes on his Instagram. He does really funny reels. The guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to baking. And even if they're not vegan recipes, you can definitely grab some inspiration when it comes to the flavor combinations. So there you go. Those are my favorite resources and cookbooks for the vegan baker. Now, if you want more tips, make sure you download that free guide to successful vegan baking. I'll put the link in the description below. And I will see you guys here tomorrow with a new video. But until then, you might want to watch this video where I shared my favorite brands for vegan alternatives to recipes, or this one where I shared my favorite essentials in the kitchen for the vegan baker. I will see you next time. Until then, stay curious.